I was invited to a behind closed doors event to play Battlefield 2042. And whilst you guys will get my full impressions and review and overall setup of 2042 soon, I had to talk about Battlefield Portal. Battlefield Portal is the best part of 2042, and is the future of the Battlefield franchise. This thing is incredible. It's a full-blown mode creator, it's a full-blown way to experience past Battlefields in entirely new lights and settings, and it's the most fun I've had in any Battlefield title to date. It's a great part of 2042, and I really hope that this stays for the future of the entire franchise. At this exclusive event, I got a whole day with Battlefield Portal, including creating my own custom modes and experiencing some modes that people had already crafted at the development team. The mode creator is fantastic, and for those of you who are unaware what Portal is, you can effectively create entire setups of Battlefield that you've never conceived of before. You can create a hardcore experience from 1942 with historically accurate weaponry, or you could create a sandbox experience in Battlefield 3 or Bad Company 2, and even relive the classics in ways that you wouldn't have thought of. For example, you can disable strafing and prone to have a true Bad Company 2 experience where the gameplay feels as though it did in 2010, even though it's in a brand new engine. And everything in Battlefield Portal, all of the Bad Company 2 maps, all of the Battlefield 3 maps, all of the 1942 maps, all of the weapons, the sounds, the audio, everything has been remastered and brought forward to the new engine of Frostbite, and it feels incredible, everything handles incredibly. And for those of you who have been crying out for remastered experiences of previous Battlefield titles, this not only does this justice, but it takes it a step further. So let's talk about what I played, what I liked, and I was going to say what I disliked, but there's honestly nothing that I disliked about this experience. And I don't think I've ever been able to say that objectively about any Battlefield experience I've ever had. The only thing with Portal is that there are some limitations, but we'll talk about that because this has a lot more potential in the future, even more so than what it's releasing with now. So the first experience we got to play was the VIP Fiesta by Courage, the wonderful influencer. And this was a VIP protection mode where a random player on each team was assigned a VIP. They were then permanently 3D spotted and received a small amount of extra health, and it was the job of the rest of the team to protect the VIP and keep them safe. The score limit was capped to 15, and it was 1942 versus Bad Company 2. And if you got 15 kills on the opposing team's VIP, which was randomly assigned each time the current VIP died, you reach 15, you kill 15 of the enemy VIPs, and that's it, your team wins the game. And each time you spawn in, you get a random loadout based out of Bad Company 2 or 1942. And this was a really great first taste of Portal. It showed that you can do something a little bit different, even though it still feels right. We were playing on Arica Harbor, and it's mind-blowing how good the maps felt, but we'll talk about that even later. And this first experience was just fun. You know, it's something different. A VIP experience is something I don't think we've ever seen in 2042, or any Battlefield game for that matter, and it just showed that the Portal editor can make you really go outside of the box. So I gave it a solid 8 out of 10, you know, I wasn't blown away, but it was like, damn, I've never played a VIP mode in Battlefield, and it made me wonder what other wacky modes people would come up with. The next two modes I think DICE showed us to prove a point. The first one was just a free-for-all, but this free-for-all removed all the clutter. There was no death screen, there was no spawn screen, so to speak. It was just sort of a spawn die kind of scenario. It was fast, there wasn't any, meat to the bones, and it wasn't anything special. But they showed us it because you can do it. You can have a TDM with 128 players or a free-for-all with 128 players, if you so please. Whatever you want, it's there, whether you're looking for an authentic Battlefield experience, a classic experience, a hardcore experience, or just something as simple as a free-for-all. You can make a free-for-all, and in some ways you can make it better. You can limit the number of guns people have. You can limit what weapons people use in the free-for-all. You can change effectively anything within the free-for-all. And the next free-for-all experience they showed us because they wanted to show us that it was better than just here's some modes, maps, and some guns to play with. And it was a free-for-all with just rocket launchers, but in order to reload, you needed to jump 5 times. And I'm not joking, I'm not kidding at all. In order to physically reload your rocket launcher, you had to do a jump 5 times. And once you jumped 5 times, the rocket would automatically reload and be ready to use again. And this is just another example of, if you can conceive of it and the logic editor permits you to do it, you can do it in the game. If you want to have a sort of tag you're it kind of game mode, where the person you stab is then the person who is 3D spotted and you have to run away from them, you could do something like that. It's entirely possible. And something as wacky as a rocket launcher mode where you have to jump 5 times is entirely within the realm of possibility. But then we got to the experiences that really mattered, and we got to play 1942 Classic, Battlefield Bad Company 2 Classic, and Battlefield 3 Classic. And honestly, it just felt like the guys at Ripple were just flexing their muscles here and showing, yep, we did all of this, yeah, it's cool, it visually looks fantastic, it plays well. Oh, and we also included some nostalgia perks because, you know, we had time and, you know, it was funny, right? And it was mind-blowing. Like, I got to play Battlefield 1942 maps, modes, and weapons in Battlefield 2042. The entire movement system, the weapon system, it felt fluid, it looked fantastic. El Amiens and Battle of the Bulge in 1942 looked incredible in Battlefield Portal. They both looked great, they played great, they're exact replicas of the maps that you used to play in the past. And you can tune stuff. You can have the time to kill of Battlefield 1942 in a 1942 experience. You can have the classic weaponry, the classic maps. You can turn off the damn HUD if you want to. Whatever it is that you want to change about the experience that you are having on those maps, you can do that. We then moved on to the Bad Company 2 experience, which was a 32-player rush game on Valparaiso and Arica Harbor. And even just as a joke and as a funny way to flex their muscles, Ripple Effect had disabled the ability to strafe and disabled the ability to prone, to put us into full nostalgia mode of Bad Company 2. Of course, you can have these things back on if it's your choice. I personally prefer the game with prone and strafing, but you can turn it off. You can have a classic Bad Company 2 experience. And it was great. Arica Harbor and Valparaiso look fantastic in this, and all of the crazy jump-up spots and places that you could get to on Rush, and even the MCOMs themselves are authentic to the experience, but visually everything looks better, graphically everything runs and looks better, and the game feels more fluid. They did the remasters for Battlefield 3, Bad Company 2, and 1942 so much justice, and even then some, that I sincerely hope we see so much more of these maps coming back to life, because it was just downright impressive. There were places, for example, on Valparaiso where you were able to jump up onto certain sides of the cliff, and you weren't really meant to get there on the intention of the map design, but it just became this normal community thing that you could hop up onto one of the hills and flank around, and people were doing that. You know, just flying a Huey around the edge of the first 2 capture objectives on Rush was full nostalgia overdrive, and it looked, felt, and played fantastically. And again, you can tweak that experience. If you want to have strafing and prone, and you want to change a few HUD elements, and you want to mess around with, you know, the classes, the compositions, the stats in game, the damage, whatever it is, you can do that. But if you just want a classic, authentic Bad Company 2 experience, and to experience those games again in a modern setting, you can. And bearing in mind, a lot of console players never got to experience Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 at their best with their maximum player counts. So if you've never experienced those games, or never experienced them at their best, you can do that here. And hell, if you want to, you can even jam 128 players onto maps that were designed for 64 or 32 players. That's entirely up to you. But I think the moment where I said, wow, you know, this is it, this is the future, this is what I want in every Battlefield game forever, is when I played Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 looks, runs, plays fantastically already, but it just felt even better in Portal. Seeing the M16A3, the M240B, seeing the M98B sniper rifle, seeing just Noshar Canals, and seeing, you know, Caspian Border was mental. Like, these maps look and feel alive within 2042's engine. They look, feel, and play great, and honestly, the team play factor, the gameplay factor, the chaotic factor, everything you love about those maps is back. But the best thing about all of it is that the clunkiness is gone. The clunkiness of how the game felt has disappeared. The movement feels fluid. The audio is somewhat here and there, but you can definitely see that the weapons themselves feel meaty and feel good to handle. But everything that was clunky about Bad Company 2, 1942 and Battlefield 3 is gone. The clunk is gone. And if you want some of the clunk back, like not being able to prone, you can have it back. But for the all intensive purposes, it is a full remaster that feels great. And I think that's the most fun I've ever had on Noshar Canals, even though I've played Noshar Canals hundreds and hundreds of times before. Battlefield 3 was a jaw-dropping experience when it came to Portal, and it just felt great. And playing Arica Harbor on Battlefield Bad Company 2 as well felt great. The destruction is there as well if you're worried about that. The remaster also applies to all the destructibility. You can blow buildings away if you want to, and it just felt right. Now, I have full impressions and reviews coming out of the entire package of 2042, but honestly, I think Portal alone is just worth every moment and piece of your attention. You know, it took me, for example, about 1:30 to 2 minutes to take all of the Battlefield 2042 maps, put Battlefield 3 classes on them, and make it a slightly more hardcore experience with less HUD elements. You know, I slightly bumped up the time to kill to make it a little bit more lethal, and suddenly you've got 128 players with classic classes playing in 2042. So if you don't like specialists, fine, have some Battlefield 3 classes. You don't like Battlefield 1942 maps? Fine, play Battlefield Bad Company 2 maps. And any future addition to 2042 automatically comes into Battlefield Portal. And I sincerely hope we see more from previous Battlefield titles. Battlefield 3 Close Quarters, Battlefield 3 Aftermath, more stuff from Bad Company 2 in 1942. And I sincerely mean this when I think that Portal is the future of Battlefield. Portal is a sandbox environment for you to do crazy stuff and have a good time. If in a couple of years' time something like Portal has a map editor, or has, you know, even a more advanced logic and more things that you can do, it would be the ultimate first-person shooter experience. Now at the minute there are some limitations to Portal. You can only use the logic editor on free-for-all and TDM, which means that you can create team-based and free-for-all based environments. You can, for example, make a gun game mode or a scavenger mode if you wanted to. But you can't do stuff related to capturing flags or capturing certain objectives as it presently stands. And I hope we see more of those limitations stripped away. It's definitely possible. They've shown that they can do a lot here in Battlefield Portal, and I sincerely hope we see a lot more. I thoroughly enjoy my time with Portal to the extent that I think that this is going to take up the vast majority of my time in Battlefield 2042. And again, if you want to see more about my thoughts, feelings, and impressions for 2042, leave a sub. You'll see more here on the channel. As always, folks, thank you for liking this video. Thank you for leaving a subscribe. We're on the road to 100k, and I will catch you guys again with more 2042 content.